A romantic comedy like Maison Ikkoku may not seem like the most natural choice for a video game. But when you understand just how popular the works of Rumiko Takahashi are, it comes as less of a surprise to know that developers would jump at the chance to adapt any of her works. While Maison Ikkoku's storyline doesn't lend itself to the traditional action game setting, the early 80s saw the birth of a new gaming genre, the visual novel. This style of adventure game launched in 1983 with future Takahashi collaborator Yuji Hoри's Portopia serial murder case. Maison Ikkoku Omoide no Photograph was developed by Microcabin in 1986 for a number of Japanese-only systems, like the PC-98 and MSX, before being ported to the Famicom and PC Engine. The company is also responsible for producing games based on other manga properties, like Urusei Yatsura, Koi no Survival Birthday, What's Michael, and Kimaguri Orange Road, Natsu no Mirage. The game was designed by Masashi Kato and Kazuhiko Ito, with planning by Masanori Otsu. The trio worked in various forms on Microcabin's best-known work, the role-playing game Zoc and its sequels. Kato and Ito would return to work on Microcabin's second Maison Ikkoku game, Kanketsuhen, also known as Sayonara Soshite, in 1989. Within the game, players control Yusaku Godai as he attempts to win the heart of Maison Ikkoku's building manager, Kyoko Otonachi. Godai does this in many roundabout ways, but ultimately is tasked with seeing a mysterious photograph that Kyoko has in her room. The game itself can be challenging even for fans of the series, as it gives very little clues on how to progress through the story. Thankfully, an English patch has been created for the PC Engine version, and we'll use that for our walkthrough here. So, let's play Maison Ikkoku for the PC Engine, the TurboGrafx 16 in the United States. This is the English patched version. And we'll choose a new game, start. And as we start our new game, we will see that you begin in room 5, because of course you're playing as Godai. And you can sort of get a look here at the menu options. I'll try to show you as many of the cutscenes in the game as I can. Here's Godai looking in the mirror. You can open his window and interact with the things in his room, which we'll do in a little bit. Let's look outside and think of Kyoko. And then we'll get started. Leaving Godai's room, you head out onto the second floor, go down the hall, and I'll show you the bathroom. Generally, it's a good idea to knock on most doors before you enter. There is an exception to that, which I'll show you in a second. When you enter the bathroom, this is where you can save your game. It gives the password. Of course, if you're playing this on a PC, you can just use save states. Once you leave the bathroom, continue down the hall to the outdoor porch area. You can open that door and go outside, and you'll find your first items here. We can think about Kyoko again by looking at the sky, and then we're going to want to take first the planks, and then secondly, we'll take the nails and we'll go back inside. Now, if you had gone to room 4 and seen Yotsuya before you go outside, he will end up playing a prank on you where he will lock you outside and you're forced to jump off which is what I'm showing you here in the corner, and you'll get a game over. So definitely do not go see Yotsuya before you go outside. Now that we're in room 4, we can just barge in. Do not knock on his door because he will come outside and block you from coming in. So just barge in. You can go out inside room 4, and Yotsuya will let you take his ladder and his hammer. Make sure you get those. You can also enter Yotsuya's closet, and you'll see that he has more items in here. These you can sort of look at, but Yotsuya is not going to let you take the nail puller or log or anything else in here. You can try, and he'll just refuse. So we're going to have to do something to encourage him to give those to us. So what are we going to have to do? Well, we crawl through the crawl space back into room 5, and then through room 5 we go into Godai's closet, and Yotsuya will follow us there. We'll see that Godai has a dirty magazine, and we're going to want to take that. And then we're going to use the plank and the nails to cover up the peephole into Akemi's room. And you can see here on the screen that you can choose to peep at Akemi, but do not do that because Yotsuya, who is a hypocrite, will punish you for it later. I'll show you how he does that. So do not peep, just board it up. And then crawl back through and go into Yotsuya's closet and give him the dirty magazine that you got out of Godai's closet. He'll hold on to it for you. Now, he's going to let you have his flashlight that he's got on top of his head. Which you will need much later. And then you need to move back into room 5 to make Yotsuya leave. Then go back into his closet. And now that he isn't here, you can move the pillow and take the nail puller. Also, you don't really need the log, but you can take that as well. Now, you can exit the room, go back out into the hallway, and this is a good time to mention, never use your wallet in front of any of the tenants, because if you do, they will take money from you. We're finally going to move down the hall and go downstairs, and I have the little map of Maison Ikkoku here on the screen. We're downstairs in front of room 3. We'll go left in front of room 2. And then outside and see Kentaro. Now, you can bribe Kentaro here to figure out what to do next, but I'm going to help you save some yen, and instead I'll just tell you to use the ladder here, so you don't need to pay him. Climb the ladder, and you can get on the roof, and you can daydream about Kyoko for a minute. And then you'll see what you came up here for, which is that one of Kyoko's bras has blown onto the roof, and you definitely need to take that. Also, if you had peeped at Akemi here, is where Yotsuya would come to punish you by taking the ladder away. So that payoff ends up happening here, and you have to jump off and you'll get a game over again. So definitely don't do that. Once you climb back down, you can take the ladder back, and you also need to grab the postcard that's in the mailbox. Once you're off the roof, you can finally leave Maison Ikkoku and you will want to go to the market. When you arrive in the market, you will see the checkout girl, who should look familiar to any Rumiko Takahashi fans, and you can have some fun with her. Of course, it's Lum from Urusei Yatsura. And what you're going to want to do here is buy a couple of different items. You need to buy ramen 3 times. And ramen is just the cheapest food. And then you're going to also want to buy flowers twice. And those are going to be gifts that you'll use later. So 3 ramen and 2 flowers. Then you can leave and go back to Maison Ikkoku, and you will run into Mrs. Ichinose standing outside. And you can talk to her. And the thing is that Ichinose is going to follow you around here. And you do not want her to do that. So you need to give her ramen outside. Do not give her ramen inside. So go ahead and give it to her here. And then go inside. Once you're inside, you'll see Yotsuya. And you can just ignore him. And move down the hall past room 1, past the telephone, and go towards the manager's room. If you had not fed Ichinose the ramen outside, she would have followed you here and stopped you from getting to talk to Kyoko. So, talk to Kyoko. And you're going to then give her the postcard. You could give her the flowers now, but you need to save those for later. It'll just save you some money. So go ahead and give her the postcard that you got. And then talk to her twice after you give it to her. And this will let you choose to go into her room. So you just choose manager's room. And you go inside. Once you're inside, you can do a couple of different things. You can make small talk with Kyoko. And then eventually you can talk to her. You can open her door to the outside and go outside and see that she has her underwear hanging up. She'll make some comments about you looking at them, but it's nothing too bad. Ultimately, you want to go back inside, and you can choose what you want to do with Kyoko. She'll say more about her parents. Then finally you can hold hands with her and choose to kiss her, or to do it, or to push her down. Of course, fans of Maison Ikkoku know that this is just a daydream, and none of those things are going to get you a game over or anything like that. In order to advance, you need to look at the photo frame and try to take it, which is going to make a Kimi come in. So she's going to interrupt you, and this will continue the story. So what we want to do basically is to constantly try to get into Kyoko's room to gain access to her photograph. So we had to leave there. Now we want to get back in as soon as possible. And in order to do that, we need to leave so that Ichinose, who we saw was standing outside her door, follows us. So we get her outside. And now that she's outside, we're going to give her ramen again. And again, you can give her any sort of food, but this is just the cheapest, so this is the best deal. So give her food, and then we can go back inside. So we'll open the door, go back inside of Koku. There's Yotsuya, but he won't follow us to Kyoko's room. So we move down the hall. There's Ichinose, but she's been fed, so she'll stay put here, which is fine. Go left, and then go down the hall to the manager's room and knock on the door again. And Kyoko is finished helping Akemi, so she's back in her room like we want. And we can talk to her. But if we want to gain access to her room, we have to give her a gift. The good thing about giving her the postcard was that was basically a free gift. And so this time we're going to use our flowers. And then speak to her again after you give her the flowers. And she will mention that her parents are there. And if we speak to her twice, which you're going to have to do, she'll invite us in. Now we can go inside again. And as you can see, her parents are there. And you can look around and you can see that they're already in a bad mood. And they're going to have their usual complaints about Kyoko living with men in the building. And we get our first mention of Mitaka, who will show up later. And then they'll start arguing, which fans of the series can already have expected, because they constantly argue. And then we can try for our photo frame gambit again, which will advance the story. They'll start to really argue. Which is going to ultimately reset our little cycle here. We can intervene, it won't make any difference. Ultimately, we'll just have to leave. So, we leave the room. So now that we've left Kyoko's room again, we're going to start the cycle over one more time. As you can see, Ichinose is out in the hall, and we need her to move away from Kyoko's door, so we're going to leave and she'll follow us. There she is outside room 1, then she follows us to room 2 and goes outside with us. Again, we're going to feed her ramen, and this is the last of our ramen. This is why we needed 3 sets of ramen. So we've used up all of our food, and we'll go back inside. She doesn't follow. We go down the hall, back to Kyoko's room, and we knock on the door. and Kyoko is not there. And that's okay. This can happen. This could happen earlier too. If Kyoko isn't there, we have to do something to give her time to come back. And I'm going to show you how precise this has to be. So we go to room 1 and we knock on the door and we talk to Ichinose. And we make conversation with her. She'll ask for alcohol, of course. We don't have any of that, and you don't want to give her any right now. You will have to later. And then we go back and try to knock on Kyoko's door again, but she still isn't there. And I did this to show you that in order to make Kyoko come back, you have to basically give her time to come back to her room. And if we're standing in the hallway, we would see her pass by basically. So we can't be there to see that happen. So what do we need to do? We need to go inside room 1 and talk to Ichinose there. So be sure that you do that. So here we go again, talking to her, and then we go into room 1. Now that we're inside, make some small talk. If we talk to Kentaro, he's going to mention the clue that we would have had to pay him for earlier, that Kyoko would be happy if we find it. It is her bra, which we're still hanging on to. You can look around a little bit. Of course, do not look into your wallet in front of them, or they'll take money from you. And now you can leave the room. So now we've given Kyoko enough time to go back to her room. So if we knock on the door, she is going to be there. Now we're going to use our second set of flowers, but she doesn't want them. We want to show them to her rather than use them. And then we talk to her twice. And we get invited into her room, which is ultimately what we want consistently throughout the game. So again, you can do whatever you want in here. She'll talk about her parents. But ultimately, to advance the story, what you want to do is try to get the photograph. So take photo frame, and then Kozue shows up. And she wants us to go to her house for dinner, which of course makes Kyoko jealous. And really, no matter what we do here, the only thing that's going to work is leaving. So, we're done with that 3-visit cycle to Kyoko's room for now. So we'll leave Maison Ikkoku altogether and we'll go to the Nanao's house. And we can see her parents, Mrs. Nanao, Mr. Nanao, and her brother, who is in correctly translated as Kinsuke. His name is Yosuke. The first voice role of Megumi Hayashibara. There's a little bit of trivia for you. And for fans of the series, you'll know that her parents are interesting people. Now, the thing here is you can take the flowers, and this is a consistently free set of flowers that you can get in the game going forward. So you don't have to buy flowers anymore. You can always come to the Nanao's house for dinner, and they'll always have flowers there that you can take. So I do recommend saving money and getting them that way. Now, after you take the flowers, you want to keep speaking to Kozue's parents and her brother. And as you can see on the screen here, there's an alternate take where after you talk to them for a while, eventually the option, it will have the little red house that stands for Kozue. That's just a little bug. It will say Kozue and ... and that will go to Kozue's bedroom. You do not want to do that under any circumstances. And you can see why. You'll get a game over if you go to her room. So what you need to do is you just keep speaking over and over and over again to Kozue, her father, her mother, or her brother. And you can see in the corner of the screen there that if you go to her room, her father will end up coming in with a shotgun and forcing you to marry her. And that's an instant game over. So do not go to her room under any circumstances or you'll get a game over. And so on our main screen here, you see that I am still just talking to them over and over and over. Do not choose Kozue and ... Okay, finally, once you talk to them about 8 times or so, you'll get the leave option. That's when it's finally safe to go. And when you can leave, you're going to want to go back to the market. And we need to restock our supplies. So there's Lum again, and we are going to buy 2 helpings of ramen at 120 yen each. We don't need flowers here because we can get those for free, and we already got one from the Nanao's house. And we are going to buy an egg for 200 yen. We need that specifically. So as we leave here, we have, as far as our consumables go, 1 flower, 2 ramen, and an egg. Back at Maison Ikkoku, we're instantly going to give Ichinose a ramen. And then we can go inside. Yotsuya will be waiting outside of room 2. We're going to go down the hall, go visit Kyoko, and she is not in her room. So with Kyoko not in her room, we're going to have to advance the story a little bit. And I get a little off track here in my playthrough, but that's okay. So we leave Maison Ikkoku. I try to talk to Kentaro, which isn't going to do anything. I end up leaving Maison Ikkoku and going back to the market just to try to reset what I think is going to happen, but I'll show you what I didn't do, which is what I should have done. So go back inside Ikkoku. You can go down the hall and you'll see that when we go to Kyoko's room and knock on the door, she is still not going to be there. But what we need to do instead is go to room 1 and knock on the door there. Ichinose is there. And if we go inside, we're going to find what we need, which is that Kyoko's parents are visiting, and Ichinose is gossiping with them about Kyoko's life and all that she needs to do to leave Maison Ikkoku, their usual plots and schemes. So we'll talk to them a little bit, but they're not at all interested in Godai being there. They're only interested in getting Kyoko to leave. So once we have dealt with them, we'll leave room 1 and we'll go back outside, and we're going to go to Chachamaru for the first time. So here's Master, the owner of Chachamaru, of course, and Akemi is at work, or as much work as she usually does. What we need to do here is buy some liquor, and we've been spending our money, so we're not going to have enough money for liquor, but thankfully it doesn't matter because Master is always going to give us free liquor and put it on our tab, which we'll never have to pay. And just like the free flowers at the Nanao's house, we can always go back to Chachamaru for free liquor. Now we can go back to Maison Ikkoku, and once we're there, we'll go inside. Yotsuya is going to be positioned outside room 2, as you will almost always find him. But we're not interested in Yotsuya, so we will go to the left. We're going to go down the hall and see if Kyoko's back yet. And when we knock on her door, we find that she is. But she is not in a good mood. She doesn't want to talk to us, so we need to give her a present as usual. And if we try to show her the flowers, that's not going to work, because she's going to realize where we got them from Kozue's house. And so instead, we'll finally use the bra. And poor Godai, he just can't win. She slaps him for bringing her bra back. I should mention, if I haven't yet, that kanrinin is just Japanese for manager, and they left that untranslated in the patch here. So when it says kanrinin, they're talking about Kyoko. If we speak to her again, she'll instantly apologize for slapping Godai, and then we're going to talk to her again so that we can finally go back into her room. Unfortunately, when we go in, Ichinose is already there. And with Ichinose here, ultimately there's not going to be a lot that we can do. So we're going to feed Ichinose the ramen, and I kind of wasted a ramen earlier. But we'll give her ramen now, and then you cannot give her 2 ramen. It won't mean anything. So you do have to give her a different food product, and the egg is the second cheapest. So we'll give her the egg after the ramen, and then we're going to give her the liquor that we just got at Chachamaru. And that's going to trigger an instant cutscene where we'll party. And it doesn't really matter what you do here. So just live it up and have fun. Drink as much as you want. It's not going to make any difference. But eventually it will trigger Embrace, which again is just a fantasy for Godai. And he has sort of this nightmare that he wakes up from the next day. Thankfully, it was just a dream. So now it's the next day, and we need to go check on Kyoko. So we'll leave room 5, and you can see that Yotsuya and Akemi are going to be standing outside room 5 now. Go down to the first floor, and Yotsuya will always follow you to room 2 and stand there. And so we go to Kyoko's room. And what we're going to end up seeing here is that I get a little bit confused, but you can learn from my sort of confusion here. So I talked to Kyoko and talked to her again, hoping that she'll let me in her room, but she doesn't. And the thing is that, of course, we had tried to give her flowers, but she wouldn't take them because she suspected they were from Kozue's house. And this is what caused confusion for me, is that I didn't know what to do because I still assumed she wouldn't want flowers from Kozue's house. But she will accept them. That is what we have to do. So we can see that Godai is just sort of milling about outside her room, looking in his wallet for no reason, checking his pockets, seeing what he's got with him, how much money he has, and all the stuff that we're carrying. And ultimately, I'm going to realize what I need to do is, yeah, you can't open her door. You gotta knock. So ultimately what we need to do is to get Kyoko to come back out and then give her the flowers. And even though it is the same flowers that we got from Kozue's house, she will take them this time. Then we do our usual 2 parts of conversation after giving her her gift, and she will let us into her room, which is what we need to do to advance the story. So we're back in her room with her, and while we're here this time, I'll show you a few things you can do just to pass the time in here. You can use her phone. You can see that she'll watch you, so be careful who you call. Don't call Kozue from her house. That's not a smart idea. Called Godai's parents, but they don't have time to talk right now. So ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to try to go for the photo frame again. So we'll take it, and that will advance the story, and we finally see that Shun Mitaka shows up. And one of my major sort of complaints about this game is how little Mitaka is in it. I do wish he was in it more. He's really only in it for about 2 scenes. So now that he's here, we need to leave. And of course, Ichinose is standing right outside her door. We're going to leave Maison Ikkoku altogether and go back to the market. While we're at the market this time, we're going to buy some yakitori. Specifically, we need to buy yakitori. And another set of flowers. We'll then go back to Maison Ikkoku. Now that we're back at Maison Ikkoku, we go inside, and the phone is going to ring when we walk past it. So answer the phone, and when you answer the phone, it's going to be Yukari, Godai's grandmom, and she says that she is sending you a package. and you'll have to just wait a little bit for it to show up, and I'll show you how to get that too. While you're here at the phone, go ahead and call Sakamoto, and if you have less than 500 yen, which we do, he will loan you money. So as long as you have less than 500 yen, you can do this. So we call Sakamoto, and he's going to meet us at the station. So we just leave, go to the station, and there's Sakamoto. So if we talk to Sakamoto, he's going to give us 3,000 yen, which is really generous. And we're going to go straight to the market. Now, there are some guides online that say if you try to buy the Maneki cat here, it's 5,000 yen usually, but it would be on sale for 3,000. I never got that to work. You can see me trying to buy it here, and it's still 5,000 yen, which I don't have. So I may have messed something up. I tried it a bunch of different ways, and I never got it to work. The Maneki cat is something you'll need later in the game. You don't know what that's used for here. But I couldn't buy it, and so instead just buy some ramen, because you will need that almost immediately. So we go back to Maison Ikkoku, and we're going to give Ichinose the ramen while she's outside, because we want her to leave here. So give her the ramen, and then we give her the opportunity to leave by going inside. And when we go inside, we see that she's not there, so we need to move down the hall, and then we can just move right back, and she is going to be inside, which is what we want. Now we go back outside, and Kentaro is here. Kentaro has to be outside with Soichiro for this to work, which is why we needed to get rid of Ichinose with the ramen. We're going to take the yakitori that we bought, and we're going to give that to Soichiro, which will let us take Soichiro. So Soichiro is now with Godai, and you can even see that by looking at your items. Soichiro is in your possession. And for fans of the series, I think you probably know what this is going to lead to. So we go inside Maison Ikkoku, and we're going to go back down the hall and head to Kyoko's room. Knock on the door. Do not hit Soichiro. Here comes Kyoko. She's going to open the door. We bought the flowers, which we're going to have to use again. Give the gift to Kyoko, and then talk to her twice as usual, which will let her let us in. There's a couple of translation issues here. So we go inside, and Mitaka is still here, of course. And as long as Mitaka is here, that's going to be a problem. So we need to figure out how to get rid of him. This is another one of those translation things where Kyoko says she doesn't get along well with Mitaka. She would never say that. Of course, he's trying to put the hard sell on her. And he's going to start insulting Godai if we try to talk. He doesn't even want us to sit down. And if you try to advance the storyline by taking the photograph again, Mitaka is not going to let that happen. So, by this point, you know what you have to do. You're going to have to show Mitaka Soichiro, which has the expected reaction because, of course, Mitaka is terrified of dogs, and that makes him run away. So now we're alone with Kyoko, and we can sit down as usual. He might hate Soichiro. And when we sit down with Kyoko, she is going to tell us that she received the package that Grandma Yukari sent. And the package has a lot of really good stuff in it, which we'll look at here in a little bit. So we can talk to her a little bit more, and we can open the package, and we're going to get 5 canned goods and 5 instant ramens, which is really going to save us a lot of money. The canned goods are just a secondary food source. Now we can take the photo frame to advance the story, which is going to cause Ikkoku to suddenly show up. And there's another translation issue saying granny, which is not right. It should be auntie, of course. And she wants us to tutor her, which will be the next thing that we do. So we leave Kyoko's room. And as if things weren't complicated enough in this game, this is where they start to get even more complex in the way that you have to do things. So we could have gone straight to the Otonashi's house to tutor Ikkoku from Kyoko's room, but instead, what I think you should do here is go out into the hall, and what we're going to do is we're going to move down the hall and check the tack board or the blackboard for a message. And so the blackboard here is right by the phone. And this is where we're going to see Yotsuya's message about his beckoning cat, which we saw was for sale at the supermarket. So we know now that we do need that, and we know why we need it, because Yotsuya lost it. So let's go out and go to the market. We still had Soichiro in our inventory, and so he'll run away, but it's not a problem. You don't get a game over for that. So now that we're back at the market, we can try again to buy the Maneki cat, but again, it's still too much money. We don't have enough money to do that, even with Sakamoto's loan. So we need to make money. And the way to make money, of course, is through tutoring Ikkoku. So we can leave, we can go back to Ikkoku, but ultimately we need to go and deal with Ikkoku. This is just looking around, seeing if there's anything else to do here before that. Soichiro is back, as you can see. He didn't run away. You don't get a game over. So let's leave and go to the Otonashi's. We'll go to Ikkoku's room, and here there's some typos, but just click on Ikkoku and she'll talk to us. Eventually we'll speak with her. More typos about Grandma. she has an album here too, which we can look at, and it's going to have a photo of Soichiro, of course, in shadow as usual. But we do want to get that photo from her. So do make sure you look at the album so that you can get that. You'll need that later. Once we get the photo, we're going to show Ikkoku some random things in our inventory. This really doesn't make sense, but we have to do this to pass time. And once you show her 3 different things, her mother will show up, which is what we want to happen. And she's going to give us cake. So we'll take the cake, and she's going to thank us for tutoring. And just like in the series, once she's gone, Ikkoku wants to goof off again. So we start to show her random things to pass time. And the second thing we show her will trigger Grandpa Otonashi to show up. And he's going to give us a photo album / diary for Kyoko. It's Soichiro's. So we take that. And he's going to thank us. And eventually he's going to pay us as well. So we got the photo. And we got the diary, which is what we needed. So with the diary and with the photo, we're basically done here. We can talk to Ikkoku a little bit more, but ultimately what we're going to need to show her is what we just got from Grandpa Otonashi, is the diary, which will reveal that there is an old photo of Kyoko inside from when she was in high school. So we need to show that to Ikkoku, which we just did. And you can check your items, and you should see that you have a lot more money now, because Mr. Otonashi will pay you 5,000 yen for tutoring, which means we're going to have enough money to buy the beckoning cat from the store. We can say goodbye to Ikkoku and head to the market straight from there. And we'll go ahead and buy the cat for 5,000 yen. Again, I don't know how to trigger the discount, if that is even doable. And then we'll head to Maison Ikkoku. And we know what to do with this. We're going to go inside and find Yotsuya. He is standing outside room 2. And we'll give him his cat. Don't use it, show it. There you go. He'll take that. And then we can move the mat, and we see there's nothing there right now. course, nobody lives in room 2, so that's not going to do any good. And you can't unlock it because you don't have a key for it. So, come back and Yotsuya will have opened room 2. Then go into room 2 with him, and you'll see that there's a photo laying there. You're going to want to take that. And there's Yotsuya and Lum and Ataru from Urusei Yatsura. How strange. And it's never really explained, but this is the start of sort of this photo gathering mission. Once you go outside of room 2, you can look under the mat and you will find that there's a key there. Now that we've gotten Yotsuya's photo, we're going to have to concentrate on getting the other tenants' photos as well. And this is where things get sort of difficult to follow in sort of a linear fashion. We'll work on getting both Ichinose and Akimi's sort of at the same time here. In order to get Ichinose's, we have to have 3 parties in total. And we've already had 1. So we need to get ready to have another. In order to have a party, she's got to be fed ramen, an egg, and liquor. And what I'm trying to do here is trigger that she knows I've received Yotsuya's photo. And she doesn't really acknowledge it outright, but just speaking to her and trying to show her his photo is really about as good as it gets to sort of trigger that she knows you've gotten it. You do have to get his first. So she says, "Why do you want them? Why do you want the photos?" I assume is what she means. So she does know we have his. And I keep trying to get her to say something else or to acknowledge it a little bit more, but she won't. So she wants alcohol, and we're going to have to go get that for her. So we'll leave Maison Ikkoku, we'll go to Chachamaru. And when we get to Chachamaru this time, we see Akemi is here at work, and Master is here, and this guy named Sayaka or Sakaya, he's called both, is here. In the anime, he's called Toshizo, which is what I know him as, so I'm going to just call him Toshizo. He is one of the neighbors in the neighborhood that's always kind of partying at Chachamaru. I had mentioned earlier that Master will always give you free alcohol, and that's not quite true. If Toshizo is here, he won't give it to you, and if Akemi is sitting around, he's not going to give it to you. So as long as the old man's here, we're out of luck. See, we don't have enough money for the booze at this point, so we gotta leave. We'll go back to Maison Ikkoku. And while we're here, we can go ahead and give her the ramen to start the process with her. We'll go inside. Because we fed her, she didn't follow us. Of course, Yotsuya is at room 2. If we feed Yotsuya here, he won't follow us. So we can go upstairs and Akemi will be home now. And usually Yotsuya would have followed us up here and stood outside room 5 with her. And we wouldn't be able to give her anything because he would be there and he would take it. So we had to get him to stay down there before we could give her anything. So now that we know she's here, that means that she's not going to be at Chachimaru. So we can go back there. See, she's not here, and neither is Toshizo. Which means we can get the free alcohol from Master. Which, again, we need to have our second party for Ichinose and everybody else. Also, there are some points in the game where if you have very, very little money and you show Master your wallet, he will give you a little bit of money. But we're not that low. So we got our alcohol. Let's go back to the market, buy an egg. And we can check to see how much money we have and everything that we have in our inventory. And then we can go back to Maison Ikkoku. We'll go ahead and give Ichinose the egg, well, the ramen first, and then the egg, and then the liquor, which should trigger a party. Great. So this is our second party. And the thing to remember is every time you have a party in the game, when you wake up the next day, any food that you're carrying will be gone. They will take it and eat it basically while you're partying. So it's never a good idea to have a ton of food on you when you go in to have a party. If you don't open the package that Grandma sends you to see what's in it, you won't lose the food. But only if you don't open it. If you open it and you have a party, you'll lose it. So we wake up the next day. We can check our items. And as you can see, all the food is gone, but all your sort of key items remain. So let's start over with our process again and get ready to have our third party so that hopefully we can get Ichinose's photograph. So we need to go to Chachimaru. Akemi is here at work. We don't have enough money for liquor, so Master will give us one for free. Thank you, Master. Ooh, we can show him our wallet, but he's not going to give us a loan because Akemi is here. It's less than 2,000 yen you need to get him to give you a loan. And she cannot be here. And Toshizo cannot be here. But that's fine. We'll buy some ramen. We can't afford that. And we'll buy another egg. Because that's the second cheapest food option. Okay. So now we have what we need. And let's go back to Maison Ikkoku. There's Ichinose. We can go ahead and give her the ramen. And then the egg. And finally the liquor. Great. So it's party time number 3. Remember, it really doesn't matter what you do here. Just a few choices to make, and then you can embrace Kyoko to wrap it up in the dream sequence. We can try push down now. You get the same result every time. Okay, great. Now, let's go see if she's ready to hand over her photograph. She's not outside, so she should be in her room. Yep, there she is. So now we can show her Yotsuya's photo, and we will get a good response from her. And she's going to show us her high school photo. So there we go, we got that. Now we need Akimi's. And we're going to buy some ramen to aid in this. And a second ramen. So, we'll go inside. And we're going to want to feed Yotsuya here so that he does not follow us. Great. Because as I mentioned earlier, if he followed us, he would take the ramen instead of Akemi up here. So now we can feed her and get her in a good mood. And we need to wait for her to go back to her room. So move out of the way. Now she should be, yeah. So she's in her room now. And if we show her the photos, she'll give us hers with some questionable fan service. Great. So now we have Yotsuya's and Ichinose's and Akimi's. I should also mention that Akimi won't give you her photo if you haven't patched the peephole in Godai's closet, which we did way at the very beginning of the game. So definitely make sure you do that. Now we can head down to Kyoko's room. And try to talk to her. At this point in the game, you can barge in and peep at Kyoko in her underwear, and you won't get a game over for that. That's just a little extra. That's the only time that works. So there you go, with that little hint. So she's not going to be too mad. She'll let us come in. And now that we're inside, she'll have her album out, which we can interact with. And we snuck a photo out of it. And then we're going to show her some of these photos. She's not going to really know what to do. But yeah, she'll be grateful to get Soichiro's photo. And her photo from when she was younger. And we also need to show her Soichiro's diary. And she'll take that from us. And then the phone rings when we move down the hall. And it's going to be Kozue. And she'll invite us to dinner. Going to the grave at this point doesn't do anything, but we haven't been here yet. So we can look around a little. And with nothing to do here, we can just leave. We're getting to the inn now. Let's head inside and go over to Kyoko's room again. But with Ichinose here, that's probably not going to work. But actually, at this point, it will work because our relationship with Kyoko is so good that we don't have to worry about Ichinose bothering us. So we come back in here and take the album. And there we go. This will trigger the progression, getting that message about the photo being in the album now. trying a few different options out. There we go. So make sure you show her all the photos now. Good. We needed all those messages. So having done that, we can leave. And there we go. Now Kyoko is visiting the grave. And while she's here, in order to advance this, we're going to need to leave something here, and I'm sure you can guess what it is. And as you can see, we do not have it. Flowers. So we need to get some flowers. And we can get them for free, of course, at the Nanau's house. So we just take them here. Thank you. And then remember, we have to speak to Kozue, her father, her mother, and Yosuke, her brother, over and over and over again until we can leave, not go to her room. That will still get you a game over even at this point. So just keep talking to them. I believe it's 8 times in total. As we're going through this process with the Nanau family, I wanted to show you an alternate path that we won't have time to get in this playthrough. It takes a little longer to get Grandma's visit to trigger. If you want that to happen, though, what you do is you run low on money, and then every time you pass the pink payphone, it'll ring when you're low. The first time it rings, it will be Grandma sending you the package, which we did see. And then the next time it rings, it'll be Kozue inviting you for dinner, which we saw. The next time it rings, it's going to be Sakamoto asking for his money back. The next time it rings, it's going to be a wrong number. There's going to be trying to order takeout. And then the next time it rings, it will be Grandma asking you to come pick her up. So if you do want her to come visit, that's what you do. In the game here, we just got the flowers from the Nanau's, and we took them to the grave. You want to put them at the grave, and we'll head in to Maison Ikkoku for our ending sequence that we're about to trigger now. We go in, we see that Ichinose and Yotsuya were downstairs. We can go up to the second floor, and as we walk past Godai's room, we see everybody there, so we know we've done everything we need to do. We can now move into the attic, and we open the door and go inside. It's going to be dark, so we can finally use the flashlight that we got at the beginning of the game, and we see that Kyoko is here in the attic. If we speak to her, she's going to be nervous and kind of startled. It looks like she's hiding something, And as we approach, we see that it's a photograph, the photo we've been trying to see this whole time. And what is it that she doesn't want us to see? It's a picture of her as a little girl, naked, some more questionable fan service. And Godai and Kyoko embrace. And that's the end of the game. So congratulations. We beat Maison Ikkoku for the PC Engine. There's our ending screen. I hope you enjoyed this. I really did like playing through the game again and seeing all the secrets and everything. The English patch is really good. I couldn't have done it without that. It's great to go back and play a game that's almost as old as I am. So yeah, I really enjoyed this and I hope you did too. Thanks for watching.